Welcome to Mama's Casserole, the podcast where business meets a little bit of everything. I'm your host, Zach Romero, serving up a hearty mix of insights, stories, and surprises. From strategies to grow your hustle to the latest tech trends, current events, and even a dash of conspiracy theories. There's always something bubbling in the oven. So grab a plate, pull up a chair, and dig into Mama's Casserole. Let's dish it out together. Welcome back to Mama's Casserole. Today on the podcast, we're excited to sit down with someone who wears multiple hats and wears them well. Joining us is Robert Whittaker from Fort Worth, Texas. He's the powerhouse behind Purple Coaching and Consulting, where he helps leaders grow through intentional coaching, team development, and transformational leadership training. But that's not all. Robert is also the owner of Magnolia Fence and Patio, a well-respected name in the outdoor living industry, known for craftsmanship, quality, and customer care. Whether he's building fences or building leaders, he brings a clear sense of purpose, strategy, and heart to everything he does. With real world business experience and a coach's mindset, Robert offers a rare blend of insight and personal growth wisdom. Today, we're going to dive into what drives him, how he balances ownership with leadership coaching, and the lessons he's learned along the way. So let's get into it with Robert Whittaker, entrepreneur, coach, and a guy who knows how to build more than just fences. Robert, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, buddy. Pleasure, man. That was a cool intro. I appreciate that. It's always fun to hear people reflect what they hear when either you project yourself into the community or what you pick up on the website. So thank you for that.
I met you here a couple years ago now. We are involved in the fence world together. Um, I do tell people a lot of times this isn't a fence podcast because there are a lot of those out there. But at the same time, when we're talking business, we're talking motivation. Hey, that's the world we come from, so you're not going to totally ignore it. Uh, but so uh, met you, I think, through Fence Tech, through the pickets and peaks, and I guess whatever it is, it changes the name every year depending on what city we're in. You put on a great party, and you and Chance started that in Oklahoma, I believe. And my business, we've sponsored that, so that's kind of how we first got connected. And I appreciate that opportunity. Um, but I guess to kind of get this started, you built a successful fence and patio company, and you've launched a leadership coaching business. So, what inspired you to pursue both paths, or did one trigger the other?
Yeah, 18 years old, wanted to go to college so that way I could be in a skyscraper and work out of a suitcase. Talk to anybody in the corporate world, they'd say, "Are you crazy?" That's just what I wanted to do. When I graduated college, I was cutting grass, doing landscaping, and wanted to be a consultant. But who would ever listen to somebody who didn't have experience? And that coaching wasn't really a thing back then. Consulting was kind of like management to leadership is now, right? And fast forward, here we are, have some successful construction companies in the mowing industry and then the outdoor construction. And we know how to drive profits to the bottom line while having a good culture, having a good group of people, and we strive to chase our vision every single day. And people started asking, like, "How'd you get there?" And I realized at that exact point, I get to be a coach, a consultant, finally, after 20 something years. And so that's what drove me. But you know what I've been observing over the last maybe 3 or 4 years of transforming into this purple coaching is timing is critical. The business needed me. I worked in the business. Had I done this any sooner, I would have not been focused on the thing I wanted to expand. You make your main thing your main thing.
Right.
And but at some point you can overstay your welcome. And so Magnolia Fence and Patio was actually being counterproductive the longer I was there because I kept wanting to change stuff, reinvent the wheel when some things just needed to play out. And then how do you empower people if you don't step out of the way? And so uh, I don't think I intentionally started a business so that way I can then have proof of concept, but I couldn't imagine being a coach and consultant without having proof of concept. So,
That makes sense. Makes sense because the whole point is a succession plan. If you're going to tell somebody else how to do it, you have to have done it first, right? So, uh,
Yeah, well, that I heard a quote the other day. It says, "Success without a successor is not success."
yeah,
And so, my succession plan definitely is to have other people take over, and then I get to work in other people's businesses and have them take their business back over once we get it to where they want it.
right. I think that actually segues pretty easily into the main topic we're wanting to cover today. You do a speech quite often at some of the associations that we're involved with called Burn the Boats. And I believe that's a lot of what you're talking about here is how do you take that step and make that change in life and business. So I'm going to just kind of let you take it from here on your Burn the Boats and let people know what that means. I know when I first heard it, when I showed up at your location earlier in the year, I think I showed up late and I was like, what is he talking about at first? But it quickly settled in on what was going on. So I love the subject and I know you're passionate about it. So I'm gonna let you kind of just take it from here.
Yeah. So the burn the boats catchy phrase, and it's very relatable. We talk a lot of times like, hey, we're firefighters, right? We're putting out fires all day, burn the boats, it works perfect. Well, if you've ever heard the story, Hernan Cortez back in the 1500s, which is now modern day Mexico, came over, and the story goes somewhere like there was 11 boats, 600 people against millions of people. There was no documentation of what it really was, but he was severely outnumbered. And if you put yourself in their shoes, they were tired, they were sunburned, windburned, probably hadn't eaten. Definitely the conditions were terrible. And if you kind of like reflect to what that looks like going through a hard season in your business or maybe in personal, you probably feel windburned, unfed, horrible sleeping conditions. And then you're asked to do the most impossible task, like take over Mexico or modern day Mexico. And I think too many times our team is exhausted, and that's when we need to take charge and go after our prize. And so while I didn't invent this concept of burning the boats, I do believe that there's a whole lot that could be unpacked from this. And it later goes on to he felt like people had a backup plan, so he said burn the boats, or in reality, what he did was tell him to scuttle it. That wouldn't roll off the tongue, but he sunk his boats, and he was quoted famously for saying, "We're going to eat off the enemy's table tonight." I mean, we have no choice. Like we have no backup plan. And when I first started writing this speech, I was thinking like, people struggle burning boats. And I was like, this is simple. And so my wife challenged me to write a story about one time that I burnt the boats. And I was like, how do you even pick? I burned so many boats. I set the marine on fire. And that's when I realized that burning the boats is the easy part. Burning the boats with clear, intentional vision is the hard part. And so, as I continue to do research and look through, I actually think people don't have a problem burning boats or committing to a plan. I think at any point, people are willing to overburn boats instead of commit to one. Or if their vision's not clear, they just keep burning things down, right? And so, I go on to talk about how my brother and I burnt the boats. We disintegrated our partnership. Pretty simple, right? But there was no clarity right after that. And if you were around me at the most recent presentation, it got pretty emotional because Michael and I did that really well. We made a decision. We decided to split our partnership up. We got it executed. The average person would say, well done. But we didn't have clarity on what it looked like after that. And so I think that too many times we burn boats without the clarity of what it looks like on the other side. And so uh, if you ever get a chance to see this presentation, I challenge people to say, burn boats, absolutely. Go all in, move towards progress, not perfection, but make sure you do it with a clear vision. And that's what I've identified over like probably the last 2.5, 3 years is most people don't have a clear enough vision to really burn a boat. So Zach, I know you're interviewing me, but let me just ask you, how hard is it for you to daydream what 10 years looks like in your professional career?
Say it's easy to daydream.
Well, but if I said, tell me where you're at in
Oh,
10
but to have
years.
the clarity, absolutely
Yeah.
no. Yeah. To
And
have
we
details and plans.
Yeah. And that's pretty common because we have all this bias, and we like to call it a fancy word like wisdom, right? Or intuition or gut, or we've been burned, or we have a fight or flight mode. So it's very hard for us to really have a clear vision because we start convincing ourselves that something will get in our way, right? But what's interesting about this is if you go ask a 12 or 15-year-old kid, hey, tell me what 10 years from now looks like. They could be extremely vivid, extremely clear, and they might not nail it, but nonetheless, they have a clearer vision than all of us do because they don't have all this bias. And in common day terms, it's called different perspectives, right? We get so concerned with our perspective, we forget to bring in other perspectives. And so, anyways, the presentation later goes on to just talking about how inaction is extremely detrimental. If you don't do anything, that's the worst place to be. But make sure that every action you do um, leads to an answer to a question to give you another question, and just keep going and going, and to move with significance and purpose. And Michael and I burnt the boats. We did really good, but we had no significance beyond that. We had no purpose after that. And if I could advise anybody, what we should have done was say, hey, Michael, we know we're going to disintegrate the partnership. We know we're good at the tactical stuff. What does life look like a year from now? And that would have been really helpful. And so making some decisions that were non-negotiable before we burnt the boats would have been helpful.
Right. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
anyways, that's the premise of burning the boats, making commitment to action. I super love the idea of learning a little and doing a little. I know a lot of people get stuck in procrastination or perfection. Those are the ugly twins, right?
Right.
Procrastination has a rap where people are lazy. That's not true. Procrastination is people who just don't prioritize their priorities. That's simply it.
Right.
It's not that they don't want to get to something else. I mean, well, some people procrastinate and lay on the couch, but the average business owner or high capacity leader is procrastinating something because they prioritize something else.
Right. I struggle with that for sure. I, I've known, and honestly, I've been looking it up a lot in the last year, research on procrastination. And it's not that I sit around and do nothing. A lot of it, I think, is I almost got so much going on. Like you said, what am I prioritizing? What actually is the number one important thing? And already been digging into the leadership book from Maxwell. He talks about the priorities, right?
Oh,
So
you
I'm
made it to chapter two.
yeah, I'm already multiple chapters in, and man, I yeah, that chapter has really helped me a lot already. Like getting things in line and top priority, start your way down it. So that's
Yeah.
always been a struggle for me for sure.
Yeah, so one of my favorite, and it doesn't always go this way. If anybody's ever heard me talk, like I share the way I want it to go, but not everything goes the way you want it to, right? So when somebody comes to me with a problem and it seems extremely unreasonable for it to be a problem or an issue or a riddle or whatever else, one of the first questions I ask is, how does this align with their top 3 priorities for the year? And if it doesn't, it shouldn't take priority in your day. And so, like, yeah, I just want to get it off my plate so I can work on the next thing. Well, if you're in your green light time, why would you be working on things that suck your energy? I don't think we have a time management issue in our world. I think we have an energy management issue in this world. I think that we do not control the gains and the drains. And if we could really focus on doing the things that gain energy and less on the drain, time won't matter anymore. And so when people get accused for procrastinating, either they don't see the bigger vision or they're waiting for the perfect time. And so we have some really clear goals for the year. We want to grow our patio division through community engagement. So we kind of get like double whammy. So we get to get engaged with Chamber of Commerce's and networking and everything like that. And we should see a direct relationship in our patio business. Pretty simple. We want to engage and sell. We have a hard number um, for sports field construction like that. So everything we do should have something to do with sports field construction or outdoor patio and living or community engagement. And then we want to build back our culture. We knew 2024 was going to be a challenging year of adversity, and it was. So we want to emphasize building back culture. And so those are the three things that we focus on. And so we burnt the boats on a lot of our systems and processes that were too sophisticated or held us back from our creativity of inventing these new things like culture. And well, we burnt the boats exactly on, well, this is how we've always done it. Those words got out. We burnt the boats on that. Uh, but there is no turning back. We signed up for all these chamber commerces. We went all in with them. We paid big money to be it. We weren't like, hey, let's do $250 membership. And if we don't use it, we don't, it's not a big deal. Oh no, we paid $5,000. We're platinum. Like, we can't hide from the fact. And boy, what a turnout. What an incredible thing when you go all in with something. Um, and so, but getting everyone all in, and that's another concept of the burn the boat. I hear a lot of people say, I just wish we could get buy-in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people buy into stuff, but are they really all in? Think about that. And you can have an incredible attitude with no action, and it's not relevant. I was talking to my son the other day. I said, son, if you had a great attitude but didn't do anything with it, what's better? That or having a bad attitude and putting a little action? He said, well, you're probably right. I mean, we're talking about like a Zach or a Robert. Like if we did something with a bad attitude, we wouldn't make it worse. We'd at least move it along. Um, and so going with a great attitude is definitely critical, but action's probably the more important first step. And boy, I got a lot today right now because I'm unpacking Ramsey. I heard this the other day at Ramsey. Your customer's experience can't be any better than your employee's experience. So how do you create good attitudes? Well, create good experiences for your employees. So, yeah, man, I'm real passionate about burn the boats. I think a lot of people get decision fatigue. I think that's a lot of people who get hung up in indecision. That it blows people's mind. Like, hey, why is everything purple here? I was like, because I don't want to make any other decisions. Everybody knows everything's purple. It's one
Right.
less decision we got to make.
Yeah.
Matt Warner talks about my Calendly link, but it's one less decision. You and I don't have to go back and forth on, what works. Go to my calendar, make a decision. I don't have to make it for you. Love personal trainers. They're the ones who time you. They're the ones who make the decision on what weight we're going to lift. Like, I don't have to make a decision.
Yep.
And so my goal is to eliminate every single decision that doesn't directly benefit me and somebody else can make for me.
Yeah, like you said, you got a lot to unpack because I know you came back from Ramsey, and I've been digging through the Maxwell book, so my mind's been rolling and running as well. But I guess let me ask you a question off of that. You've worked with leaders at different levels. I mean, even I know quite most of your clients, I guess, whatever you call them, at Purple. So small guys with 1, 2 crews to guys who are running multiple businesses. What's probably one of the biggest mistakes that you see leadership make across the board?
Say that last, but biggest mistake leaders what?
Make across the board. So no matter if small guy or big guy, big company, multiple businesses, or a chuck in a truck.
I think they underestimate the power of people. I can't think of anything that doesn't involve people.
Right.
And we're so quick to try and run away from people in leadership. Hey, if we get a bigger tech stack, we don't need as many people. We get buy more equipment, we don't need as many people. If we can charge more and do less, we don't need as many people. but people are the only consumers of our products. So we will always need to deal with people. And the more practice that we have with people, the better we are when we're talking about the consumption of our product, i.e., changing money. And so I think that we really forget the power of people. And our world, was founded on people. Like it's all about people. If you really like zoom out, people that are on their deathbeds and talking about things. I love the guy that said nobody's talking about the trophies. They talk about the times that they either missed or had with people. And so I think that's important. Limiting beliefs though is huge. A lot of people have tons of limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a team to lead, so I don't need to learn leadership yet. Well, if you don't have a huge company, you probably have a huge group of friends because you don't have anything else to do but hang out with friends. And boy, is my company grown, I've lost some friends. And that's not to say you have a big business, lose friends, but you start realizing you outgrow some people. And so I think that limiting beliefs of like, I don't know if I'll ever get there, or I'm not getting there fast enough, or uh, what if it doesn't work? And so I was in Ramsey last week, and there were so many business owners struggling with limited beliefs. Like that was probably the most interactive moment at Ramsey, and I don't have a tremendous amount of limiting beliefs. Uh, I'm convinced that we can solve any problem, and it's probably because through multiplication, through the power of people. Like I know I'm going to solve something. I've got people like you. I've got Matt Warner got my back. I mean, I've got my best friend Chance with Apex. Like that guy is always watching over me, and so like I know that I can run through a wall. I mean, and so, anyways, I think the power of people though.
No, I agree. That's kind of where I'm at too, is as our business is growing and I've got a team under me now, is when I started this myself and it worked, it's hard to get away from myself and start to empower the people. Um, Limiting belief would be a limited believing in people, right? So that is has always been a strong, and even to this day is like not so much empowering them, but sitting there worrying like, are they still going to perform no matter what I've done? Train them no matter what I've done to show them. At the end of the day, it's so easy to fall back in that mindset of if you want to do it right, just do it yourself, right? That phrase that comes to mind, but then that also limits your growth. I can only do so much. Because at the end of the day, we are human. As talented as we become, as much as we learn about leadership, as much as somebody like you or Maxwell or anybody, anything that we look at to grow ourselves, we're at the end of the human, we have limitations. So you have to empower those other people. But and that's kind of where I'm at and trying to find that group and I feel like I have to help me get beyond that and that's exactly what you're talking about. You feel your beliefs are minimal because you've got that team behind you, push you on, watch over you, and that's kind of where my journey is at now is getting that circle built up. And
Well, I know that I think you're implying it's part of the circle that we're cultivating.
no,
We're
absolutely,
super glad that you're engaged in some of the leadership that we're working on, and Zach, you've added a huge new perspective to leadership and to business management and everything like that. And so I think we have a tendency to typically attract who we are, so we hire what we like, and we're not really gaining new perspectives. And one of the reasons we tend to micromanage those people is because they're literally doing what we can do.
right.
But if you hire people that are not polar opposites, but opposites of you, that complement your weaknesses, that's where you really get true multiplication. And uh, I was walking through the hallways and I heard somebody go, God, the generation today, nobody wants to work. And I said, hey, they just don't want to work for you. And he said, excuse me? I said, you're telling me that Dave Ramsey has 1,200 people. He could find 1,200 people who wanted to work, and you can't find 12? I said, I think you need to know that there are people who want to work. They just have a higher standard now than they ever have before because they saw their parents give away everything and not get much in return. And we're not talking about monetary. We're talking about appreciation, empathy, EQ, all that stuff, right? So they just have a higher standard for giving away their dignity and they want to be led well. And they're not going to model anything that hasn't been modeled for them. So if you're not a good modeler, they're not going to get really ignited by you. And so I'm not implying that about you, but I'm
No,
just
I
saying in
get it.
general, like when people say, I don't know if I can trust these people, think about this. I don't know if they can trust you.
Right.
Who's this, like, and so
Speed of trust.
yeah, it's gonna be I'm on a journey to change everyone's mind that if you're genuinely an incredible leader, people will want to follow you. And the law of the lid, if you're a 4 leader, no leader below above a 4 is going to come work for you. And so it's important that you grow your leadership so that way you attract higher leaders. It's that simple. And so, anyways, I'm super fired up. We're doing that mastermind. It started internally, realized that we needed to bring some more people into the conversation so we didn't have limited perspectives. And it's just exploded. The amount of people who want to practice their leadership and grow their leadership is unbelievable. So much that we had to close it because it was going to be too big. We're going to do another mastermind for the people who couldn't get in that. And then we're going to do a follow-up. I've got 3 or 4 more books that I want to do over the next 6 to 8 months. Because things that are stay in motion, or things that are in motion stay in motion.
Right.
So I don't be like, hey guys, we finished the book. I'll call you in a couple months and let's get it going again. No, you've already carved this part out in your day. People already know what you're doing. And so we're going to go do Speed of Trust, Trust and Inspire afterwards. I got a special guest that I can't wait to bring on there. And then we're going to do, I haven't decided if we're going to do Good to Great or Atomic Habits. Both of those are phenomenal books. But the idea is, the reason we're doing the mastermind. So you mentioned like you have so much to do, what to work on first, right? Well, if we can show you what leadership looks like, then show you what the power of trust is, and then we can either look into the habits, the atomic habits, or we can look into changing your company from good to great. And when I say, "Hey, is your company good or great?" People are like, "Great." We'll pull you out of it. Is it good or great? Good. Then your company's not great. Your company's not great if it isn't great without you. The DNA of your company should be great with or without you. So, anyways, we're gonna walk through these
Absolutely. Yeah,
masterminds,
yeah.
and I'm hoping to get all those packaged. Not everyone will be 10 weeks. This particular one, I'm asking people to change their perspective on how to lead humans, and first and foremost, how they lead themselves. So we need 10 weeks to do that.
Yeah.
But talking about trust, a 1-syllable word, 5 letters. We can do that in about 5 weeks, maybe. And then Atomic Habits and Good to Great. We'll probably try and land the plane in 8. Boom, we'll be at Christmas. And then I've got an incredible speaker to kick off 2026.
Well, let me. I got maybe like 2 more questions before we wrap up. What's a practical exercise or habit do you recommend to anyone trying to become a more intentional leader?
The most practical one is going to be the hardest. So let me just tell you real quick. Uh, Spend more time with yourself. I've been in a lot of leadership rooms lately and said, list 5 people you spend the most time with. And I'm one of them. I'm spending a lot of time with myself. While it seems like so obvious, it's super hard. So I'll give you a different one. But we can't like pour from an empty cup. So we have to know when our cup is empty. We got to know when we are not our best self. But if I could give any piece of advice, I'm going to do a keynote on it. If you want to know what kind of leader you are, ask yourself this. And I'm not going to give you all the answers. So this is for the listeners. Are you focusing on efficiencies or effectiveness? and I'll just leave it at that. And there's a huge difference, and you can determine the kind of leader you are on which one you focus on first. But you got to do the research, and then you can send me a message and let me know if you figured it
Yeah,
all out.
I'll have to do
Yeah.
that because that's one of those is something we've specifically been focusing on. Um, but I also feel like it creates some lack in some other side. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
which
got
one are you focusing on?
efficiencies,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I also think it's we almost micromanage it so much that are we really being effective? Because we're so focused on being efficient that I know that there's times like, hey, why is this still happening? Why is this?
yeah.
And that tells me we're not being effective. Whatever we're doing isn't actually working. Yeah, it might cut the time down on something,
Y-
but what is my actual result at the end of the day? So, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of my quick assessment. But yeah, I like it. I'll have to
Yeah.
dig into that
Yeah. And for all the listeners, I encourage you to reach out to me because it's not a very obvious answer, especially for somebody who is got blind spots as a leader.
because you get focused on something you think is the answer.
Yeah.
You're missing something else. So yeah, no, I like that. It's got my mind going now. So I'll wrap up with this one. So looking ahead, and you kind of touched on it already. What's your vision for purple coaching? Do you see it evolving alongside your work at Magnolia, or I kind of feel like you touched a little bit on succession already. Um, what is purple coaching looking at over the next little bit?
Yeah, so we're really excited about the masterminds. The response we got right away really showed that people want to learn in intentional groups. So I can't wait to see where that goes. We're going to pour some energy into that. Um, we're doing this open coaching quarterly for all the people who don't have full leadership teams, and I know you're going to be here in July, and I'm excited to have you here. So we're going to focus on some of that group coaching. I truly believe transformation doesn't just happen with information, but also with conversation. And so I'm really looking forward to just causing more conversation around. We've got a couple other really cool things that we're launching. I can't talk about it right now, but they're going to be other ways that people can engage and talk. And then we're going to really start moving um, towards well, I mean, we're pretty much there. We work with high capacity teams that need to make that next jump, right? So like we're working with some incredible leaders that built a business and left a few things at a few campsites. And so they require some heavy lifts. I think the masterminds, the open coaching, some of the events that we're doing should solve most businesses' problems until they get into a position that they need somebody to help them get to the next level. Uh, but ultimately, Zach, with Purple Coaching and Consulting, I won't be fulfilled until I'm on stage changing the lives of others. And while you're really important to me, I believe that the only way that we're going to change our world is by changing the next generation. And so I'm going to spend a tremendous amount of time pouring into the younger generation. I sponsored Lemonade Day. It's a nationwide thing. It's really, really cool. We sponsored 94 lemonade stands in Granbury, Texas, very small place, and we raised $38,000 in selling lemonade. And I went around and judged them, and it was just they had to build a business plan and marketing strategy. They had to negotiate with the businesses to let them, park their cart there, and it was incredible. So, anyways. That's where Purple Coaching wants to use the microphone. We do a lot of work with CASA for Magnolia Fence, and we did the easy thing first. We donated a bunch of money, and then we were going to donate time. And I was talking to a lady, and she goes, "Gosh, if I just had like 15 of you to help with these kids," and I said, "I can get 15 people." She goes, "How?" I said, "Give me that microphone." And at that exact moment, I realized that me spending time with the kiddo is not nearly as impactful as using the microphone as my sword to encourage more people to get where we're going. And so I'm emceeing some of these CASA events for these kids that have been removed from these families. And so like I just have an un like like you can't put this fire out of me right now. And so purple coaching, I want to help businesses and everything like that. But what if I never had to actually help you learn leadership at 35, 40, 45? What if I could teach you and help you like understand the basics of leadership at 10, 12, 15 years old? Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine how much more sophisticated our world would be? And so, like, that's where I see it going. And so, thank goodness that I have Magnolia Fence and Patio to support me because, like, these things cost money. And if you were a vendor or a sponsor of any sort, I'm going to be calling you at some point because you mentioned Pickets and Peaks, and we were able to raise all this money. And I was looking around at this last party at AFA, and I was like, we raised all this money. I could raise all this money too, and I could go around to these kids and change their lives. And and we can multiply all the results that all of us want to do through the hands of our kids. And so anyways, so Magnolia Fence and Patio is my safety net. It's helps with cash flowing this right now. We charge a fair rate for our coaching services, but I won't charge to go to a school. I won't charge to talk to. I'm speaking to a graduate class of young professionals, and Magnolia is bankrolling that. But talk about succession. Like I got some really great people, Dakota and Christine, which a lot of people haven't met yet. Kelly and of course Crystal, everybody knows her. Like they need me out of the way. Like how are they supposed to grow if I'm in the way? And so they're going to continue to have more and more autonomy to make this their own. We're eventually going to probably get to some sort of phantom stock. We've tossed that around a lot. Like if they can take this business and grow it to more than what it is today, I want them to have some ownership in that. That's a complicated discussion in itself, though.
On it, and that's where I'm at with Blackline. I didn't start the business, but I've been with them 16 years, and it's a sweat equity type of thing, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they couldn't have done it without you.
right,
And they always say, "Hey, people, if it was their own, they treat it differently." Well, then why don't you make it their own?
absolutely,
And and if you're not willing to partner with somebody, then they shouldn't work for you
yeah,
because we're partners in today. So, anyways, to kind of wrap up all that,
yeah,
Magnolia Fence and Patio is doing great things. I'm super in love with our missions to build things people can't wait to use. And so I love the idea of getting to sports construction because they use it every single day. So that like really re-energized me when Matt Warner and I were working on the sports field in USS. I was like, Matt, we're like literally installing this padding and these kids are running into it catching baseballs. He's like, yeah, isn't it great? And I'm like, they're using our stuff. I was like, Matt, how long does this padding last? Not long, man. If they have a bad pitcher, they're going to be jumping over this outfield, cleating it up. And I'm like, this is great. So like, I've got crazy amount of energy for that. But then if you're thinking about it, like, wait a minute, I get to build sports field for kids that I'm also getting to pour into on the entrepreneurial level. And so I'm just going to continue to use all the momentum we have. John Maxwell has blessed me with the momentum of giving away $1 million. And the easiest way to do that is through Magnolia Fence and Patio. We're on a warpath to get to 15 million. And so uh, there ain't in stopping any of this. We do know what the business is worth. We constantly get it valued because we want to know what our biggest asset is. You know what your home's worth, so you should know what your biggest asset is at work. And so I know what it is. So if we ever do decide to bring on phantom stock owners or whatever, I can just say this is what it was worth when you came on, and back into that. And so I don't know. We'll see, Zach.
yeah.
But I promise you this much: whatever I'm doing or whatever any of my businesses are doing, if they're not providing a life of significance for not only the people around them, but the people they never meet, I'm out.
Right.
I want to be significant to even the people I don't know. And that's the cool thing about books.
Yeah,
All like the book you're reading right now, John Maxwell would have never been able to communicate what he did had you not picked up that book.
right.
And so I'm just using these legs to get a hold of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I love it. Love it. Well, that's a lot to unpack and think about. So we're gonna wrap it up. But I appreciate you joining me. Um, appreciate the friendship and the business and whatnot, but also just the conversation. I think people sometimes just need to hear different viewpoint and different perspective, and you don't know what's gonna motivate them. So I appreciate you taking some time with me.
Hey, I appreciate you. And hey, I actually want to end on this because you
Yeah.
talked about Magnolia. I've traveled more in the last 30 days. Let's say 60 to be fair, because we know sales pipelines take a little time. I've traveled more in the last 60 days uh, than I have probably ever. And we had the two biggest sales months we've ever had. So
Yeah.
get out of their way, let
Yeah.
them do their thing.
There you go. That's awesome.
So yeah, I think that's important. And had I been here, I probably would have. I mean, call it micromanagement. We get impatient, we get excited, and we want to help them close the deal because we can't wait to celebrate. And before we know it, we've done all of it.
Right.
So
For sure.
I got a guy that's been with me. His name's Colin. He's been with me 4 months, 4.5 months. He had $110,000 a week selling residential fence, and he's already like $60,000 this week in residential fence. Like 4 months into it with no fence background, and that's what getting out of the way looks like.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it again, and I'll let you go because I think you have another podcast tonight, don't you?
Um,
uh,
well, that's what you get with twins. So my brother
that's right.
does.
Oh,
He's
okay. I
he's
thought
he's
that's what it was, but then I saw your face show up on the last
yeah.
post.
Yeah, because I just posted a new picture, my headshot from Maxwell, and so then he took that, and my brother's like, that's." So then he posted a picture of me, Michael, and I, because he just didn't want to mess it up. But Michael's gonna be on in a few.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, and on that short, Brian, he's a great guy, man. He's got unbelievable passion. The story
Yep.
that he has, of quick plug for the FWA Health. I mean,
Absolutely.
the reason why or the purpose behind it is so meaningful, right?
Yeah.
You get all the other minutia and all the other drama out of the way. I mean, there are people behind every single thing,
Absolutely.
and that guy, he's good, man. He's good. I'm happy to know him, and I'm glad to see Michael and him are connecting tonight.
Yes.
So
Yeah. That'd be great. I'll be listening. So, all
well,
right. Well, you
good
have a good evening, and I know I'll for sure see you in July. So,
deal.
all right. Have a good one.
You too.